Hello friends, so today we'll start our second topic, which is differentiator using operational amplifiers. So again, here is the rider. Wherever you see calculations, you are supposed to do it by pen and you have to verify the values. Second thing, the slides or the figures which you are seeing here are taken from open sources. So in the previous lecture, we have seen integrator. So on the left hand side you are seeing integrator, on the right hand side you are seeing circuit for differentiator. So if we replace the places of resistor and the capacitor, we will be able to get our differentiator. So what is the meaning of differentiator? It simply means if you want to get the derivative of any signal, any input waveform, you will use differentiator. So for example, if you differentiate a sine wave, you will be able to see a cosine. If you differentiate a rectangular or a square wave, you will be able to see spikes. Whenever transition is happening, you will be able to see spikes. If you differentiate a triangular wave, you will be able to see a square wave. So this is the derivation. So in the circuit, you guys are seeing a differentiator. So what changes we made here? We have changed the place of capacitor and the resistor. So here you are seeing a capacitor on the input side and a resistor in the feedback. So by the concept of virtual ground, the current which is going in will be equal to the current which is getting into the feedback resistor. So from here we can write feedback current is equals to minus V out by RF, which is simple, your KVL or KCL concept. For finding out the current across capacitor, you will use your basics, which is Q is equals to the charge stored across the capacitor is nothing but C cross V in, the input voltage. So if you differentiate, because we want to find out the current passing through the capacitor, so if you differentiate the charge across the capacitor, you will be able to get the current. So if you differentiate it, you will get dq by dt is equals to C dV in by dt. So by equating these two values, we will be able to get minus V out by RF is equals to C dV in by dt. So the final expression for the output voltage is minus RF C dV in by dt. So here again, so if you put V in as input signal of square wave, you will get this spike. If you put input signal as triangular, you will be able to find out the expression for rectangular wave. If you differentiate sine wave, you will be able to get the cosine. But here one thing you have to observe, let's look back to the V out. So you will always see change in the phase of the output, because all these applications of op-amp we are seeing through inverting op-amp. So you will see an inverted output, which means 180-degree phase shift. So what are the limitations? First, please go through these lines. What does it mean? What do you infer by these? So the basic limitation is it suffers from instability at high frequency. Other is that capacitive input makes it very susceptible to the random noise signal, and any noise or harmonics present in the source circuit will be amplified more than the input signal itself. The second limitation is the output is proportional to the slope of the input voltage, so some means of limiting the bandwidth in order to achieving the closed loop stability. So far I am assuming that you guys know what is closed loop and open loop stability. So here first I will come on to the second point. So if you observe the V out is directly proportional to the slope of the input. Slope of the input is nothing but dV in by dt, which is written here, dV in by dt. So what will happen? So when you operate with high frequencies, your output tend to increase in a very rapid manner. So now we'll come across the first point, because lot of terms which you are not familiar coming in this high frequencies, instability, noise, and these sort of terms. So we'll take a look at it. So if you, by the expression which we have derived in the previous slides, if you find out the overall gain of this particular circuit, so we can write modulus of V out upon V in is equals to 2 pi RF C F. F is the operating frequency or the input signal frequency. RF is the value of resistance connected in the feedback, and the C is the capacitor connected in the input side. So by this relation, if you say if F is equals to 0, then the overall gain is 0. But what will happen if you increase your operating frequency? This V out by V in, which is the overall gain, is increasing. So there has to be a limit to it, because this cannot go for, if F is increasing by large number, your device cannot handle this much gain, because 10 to the power 6 is the limit for any practical op-amp. Okay, so what will happen? On the high frequency side, there will be huge gain, which will create distortion in the output side. So we have to deal with it very carefully. So here, if you observe the blue line which you are seeing, this blue line is crossing x-axis, which is for frequency, and the y-axis is gain in dB. So this blue line is crossing x-axis. This particular frequency is known as 0 dB frequency. So 0 dB frequency, if you want to calculate, that will be just 1 upon 2 pi RF cross C. So if you increase this F further, this blue line will increase and the slope will be linear. But this slope will be limited by the open loop response, which we have seen in the previous lecture. So this yellow curve is telling you the open loop response of operational amplifier, which will limit this extraordinary increase due to the increase in frequency. So this is the main limitation of your differentiator, which we have seen so far. So we have to deal with this problem. How will we deal it? We will make some changes in the existing circuit and we will convert this differentiator into the practical differentiator. The dark curve which you are seeing in yellow is showing the frequency response of an ideal differentiator. Okay, so now we are gonna make some changes in the existing circuit to get the practical frequency response for the practical differentiator. So the circuit which you are seeing, what are the changes we have made here? We have connected a resistance into the input side and one more capacitor onto the feedback side. So we have connected one capacitor in parallel with the feedback resistor. So what changes it will make? Here, please do the calculations on your own. Lot of references you can find in the Gaikawad or Open. I would not encourage you to refer the video lectures available, because I have come across several and none of them have covered it very clearly. So I would encourage you to go through any textbook. So here, by making these changes into the circuit, we will come across two frequencies. One frequency is F1, which is 1 upon 2 pi Rin C in, means the combination of this input resistor and this capacitor and the combination of this capacitor and this resistor. So this will give you frequency F1, and this will give you frequency F2. Okay, so when here again, if you have come across Bode plot in your control system, so I would encourage you to get the transfer function of this particular circuit, means you have to operate in the Laplace domain. Then you will be able to get a transfer function, and the method which you have applied there to get the Bode plot. So this curve which you are seeing here is nothing but the Bode plot, and this is not the linear scale, this is the logarithmic scale. That is why some of you may say the 0 dB frequency is here, but here is some F has some value. So please understand, log 0 does not exist. Okay, so this is the logarithmic scale, which is nothing but the Bode plot. Okay, so for this is your 0 dB frequency. So when you further increase the frequency, this curve will increase with the slope of 20 dB per decade, and then it will flatten here. Means when you are further increasing your frequency, then it is getting flattened. What is this? So if you observe the expression 2 pi RFC, so which means when your frequency is increasing, so this particular impedance, which is under root of Rn plus Rn square plus XC square, so this XC value will decrease. Okay, so XC value will decrease. So what will be left? This Rn, and same case with this. Okay, so here you will be able to see a constant term. So the overall gain will be nothing but minus Rf by Rn. So that is why this flat slope you are seeing here. So when you further increase, then it will go down by the minus 20 dB per decade slope. So this is the frequency response. So we can clearly see we have dealt with the extraordinary increase in the gain by putting these small components. There are certain conditions on these two values. So in practical circuits, in most of the practical circuits, you will see this RFCF is generally equals to RNCin. Okay, so here in this slide, what I have made, for the previous slide, this F1 was not equal to F2, but here in this slide I am making F1 is equals to F2. So in case when you make this F1 is equals to F2, so this this flat portion will go, and what is left is this triangular shape. So this triangular shape will represent the frequency response of your practical differentiator. Okay, so this is the condition. If you want accurate differentiation, then your signal frequency Fs should be less than or equal to F1. F1 is nothing but your upper cutoff frequency. So for differentiation, the input signal frequency Fs should be between F0 and minimum of F1 and F2. F0 is 0 dB frequency, and minimum of F1 and F2, whatever is the lower value, that range you have to pick. So this is one example here. So I have assigned some values: 100 ohms for input resistor, 100 nanofarad for input capacitor, 100 picofarad for feedback capacitor, and 5 kilo ohms for feedback resistor. So you have to find the useful range of differentiation. So by the formula which we have seen in the previous slide, F1 is equals to 1 upon 2 pi Rn multiplied by Cin. So when you put these values here, you will get 159.2 kilohertz. Similarly for F2, when you put these values, you will see 318.3 kilohertz. So by the basic definition, what is the upper cutoff frequency for us is F1. Which one is minimum? So 159.2 is surely the minimum among 318 and 159. So we'll go for 159.3 kilohertz. So Fs, the signal frequency, should be less than F1 by 10, which is 15.93 kilohertz. So your range is from, so your input signal frequency should always be less than 15.93 for accurate differentiation. Now let's take another example. So this is the second example. Here I am providing you the value of V input. So V input is Vin is equals to 2 pi, Vin is equals to 2 sine 2 pi 3000 t. So what is the signal frequency, which is clearly 3 kilohertz. Okay, so First, check the accurate differentiation condition. So we have, if you can observe, I haven't changed the value of these components. So again, F1 will remain 159.2 kilohertz, F2 will remain 318.3 kilohertz. So Fs should be less than or equal to 15.93 kilohertz. So what is the actual signal frequency? 3 kilohertz, which is fairly low as compared to the criteria. So we are good to go for our finding out the final output. So final output, this formula we have derived in the second or third slide. So from there, V out is equals to minus RF C in dV in by dt. So RF value is 100 ohms, 5 kilo ohms. C in value is your 100 nanofarad. dV in is given. So when you put these values, you will be able to see V out is equals to minus 1.885 into cos 2 pi 3000 t. So if you see here, the shape or the frequency of the output signal is not changed, but the output is inverted. Okay, so from this you can conclude, if you are making changes to either RF, C in, or the input frequency, which is Fs, then your output will always change. If you are making this, if you are not touching these values, there will be no change in the output side, or the shape of your output will be same as your input. Now I'll also share one or two questions related to this differentiation, and you all are encouraged to do these things on your own. In addition, you are also encouraged to understand the Bode plots which are shown here in these slides, because this topic is covered in your control systems. In case it is not covered, please write to me. Then I'll, in my next lecture or maybe by the weekend, I will explain how to make these Bode plots so that you can understand the frequency response in a better manner. Thank you.